So my name is Nurul Taimur Islam, and this summer I'm working with Dr. Robert Harinke, and our project is called Selective Population and Decay of Neutron Unbound States in Oxygen 23. The general motivation for our project comes from the fact that some nuclei have overabundance number of neutron compared to the number of proton. These nuclei sometimes have so many neutrons that the strong nuclear force, which is responsible for holding the nucleons in a nuclei together, can't even hold on to the last neutron. And so these nuclei decay by giving off neutron instead of regular beta minus particles that we see in regular radioactive decay. And this summer I'm working particularly with oxygen 23. And oxygen 23 is interesting because it is only one neutron away from the new closed shell of neutron, which is n equals to 16. And oxygen 23, when it's unbound, it decays towards oxygen 22 by giving off the neutron in an order of zeptosecond, which is 0.2001 second, whereas regular radioactive decay, which occurs by beta minus particles, happens in an order of milliseconds. So oxygen 23 cannot be studied, or it's hard to study because of its short fleeting lifetime, and this cannot be done on any regular experiment performed in the laboratory or tabletop experiment. And for that we need specialized nuclear facilities, and for our case we went to National Superconducting Cyclotron Laboratory at Michigan State University. What happened in the real experiment is a beam of calcium-48 came out of the cyclotron and was collided against a beryllium target in the N1900 fragment separator, and this collision broke down calcium-48 into smaller constituents, and eventually what came out of the A1900 fragment separator was oxygen-24. This oxygen-24 was accelerated further towards a reaction target, and it was collided against beryllium. The collision knocked out a neutron from oxygen-24 and populated the target with a lot of oxygen-23 in its unbound state. And our goal this summer is to study the oxygen-23 when it decays by giving off neutron to oxygen-22, as happened in the real experiment. And to find the decay energy of oxygen-23 when it decays to oxygen-22, we need three components: the energy of the daughter particle, the momentum of the daughter particle, and the trajectories. We already have experimentally based energy level diagram for oxygen-22, oxygen-23, and oxygen-24. Our experiment and our calculation of decay energy will just reconfirm this fact using a different nuclear reaction. And this kind of experiment is usually very long, and are run for about 10 to 15 days. So they involve a lot of different detectors and lot of different techniques. So basically all we did this summer is calibrated a lot of detectors. For example, we calibrated 4 gas field tracking detectors, a lot of scintillator detectors, and ion chamber detectors. And one of the tracking detectors that we worked with is cathode readout drift chamber. This detector can locate exactly the location of the particle when it enters the detector, and this is very helpful when we go back into time to see where exactly the reaction happened and when exactly the target was populated with oxygen-23. And you can see here, this is the work we have done. Before we started working, the pads in the tracking detector CRDC were not gain matched. For example, the pads registered different counts for the same beam of particle. However, we had to adjust them so that they give the same charge for a given particle, and this is really important when we start identifying the particles in the final part of the analysis process. And another type of detector that we worked with is scintillator detectors. These are plastic organic material detectors with 4 PMTs at the 4 corners. And what happened in the real experiment is a beam of particle was made to go through the center of the plastic scintillator, and each PMT is recorded different charge, which is really not something we want. We wanted each PMTs to record the same charge distribution and same energy, and they showed something different. So we had to use a programming language called Root, and using root we could adjust the actual gains and actual distribution of the charged particles to an arbitrary value, which we assumed just looking at the best fit or best of the 4 diagrams we had. And another problem that happened with this scintillator detector is these detectors were recording different charge for different flight path of the particles. We had to make sure that they record the same charge, because charge is proportional to energy, and we had to make sure that the PMTs record the same energy for a given beam of particles. And in the future, a lot of work needs to be done on this, especially identifying the particles, and this can be really challenging without proper calibration of the detectors. And I'm gonna keep working on this project in the fall and spring semester, and hopefully we can find the decay energy very soon. Finally, I would like to thank OU-SSRP, Dr. K, and James McGugan, and the NSF, National Science Foundation, for funding the experiment at NSCL.